Test, test, Zoom call, test, test. Zoom call, test, test, when time leaves home. Relational clocks beyond Earth. Test, test.
Hi, Steven. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Can
Hi,
you hear me?
Steven.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. I just, your voice is low.
Is it low? Okay, we'll work on that. Is that a bit better?
Little bit.
Okay, we can keep going, I think.
What?
We got lots of room. We can go up higher and higher.
Go higher.
Go higher, please.
Yes. But I hear your echo.
Oh, do you? Okay.
No, I hear my echo.
Oh, your echo.
Yeah. I hear my voice.
Okay. Can you can you do you hear me okay now? And do you echo still?
I hear you okay,
Okay.
but I hear my voice back.
You still hear your voice back. So it's picking up when he talks. It picks up on my mic probably. Okay. So what it is when you talk, it's hitting my mic, and that's why. So we'll just mute all everybody else so it doesn't do that.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear my voice
How can we fix that? We
because it sounds like you hear my voice and then it goes to the channel, to the Zoom channel. There is something wrong here.
Yeah, Steven,
Yep.
tell him you're going to mute yourself now and let him keep talking.
Okay. We're gonna mute. I'm gonna mute my mic, and you talk and see if that solves it.
Okay. I hear music in the background. Hello?
Okay. Do you echo now, or did you echo when you were talking?
Hello? No, I don't hear my, no, I hear my voice back.
Yeah, he hears it back again.
And also you have some background music. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Oh, I'm hearing your voice, my voice again.
Okay,
It
we'll
sounds.
figure it out.
Please fix it. This is simple. Just Zoom. It sounds like you hear my voice and then it goes through the Zoom your computer, so I hear it back.
Okay, we're working on that. That's why we joined in a bit early.
Yeah, please. Where are you now? Are you in Canada?
Yeah, back in Canada. I flew in from San Francisco last night.
Ah, you're in San Francisco.
Yeah, right where your picture is. Oh, we should have said hi if you're in San Fran.
Now I see you. That's good.
There we go. Yes, that's always good. Is there still an echo? Do you still hear yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, he's still.
So it sounds like you are in a room, and the room,
Yeah, so I can hear you.
yeah. So you hear me, and then you have a receiver which talk your Zoom.
Yeah, well, they're fixing it. I got a group behind there fixing it.
Yeah.
You had beautiful weather in San Francisco last few days. It was really nice.
Beautiful. What do you do in San Francisco?
There was a conference I was there, so I was at the McCormick Center downtown.
Oh, which conference?
ASCO GU, so it's an oncology conference for bladder cancers and prostate and that kind of thing.
So you are a doctor, a medical doctor, or what is your field?
Oh, so I'm a PhD. I'm trained in medical sciences.
Ah,
Yeah.
so you are not high tech software hardware guy.
I've done I've started software companies in the past, and I've done amateur coding and that kind of stuff. But most of the science and math and physics that I'm presenting is mostly self-taught over the last 5 or 6 years. Yeah.
That's good. It is today presentation. It is a blend of hardware, software, and maybe bio stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the bio, but it has lots of different components to it for sure.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So let me try again to see if I can hear myself.
Okay.
Hello, I hear myself because you somewhere in the room you hear you have an
Fair enough.
amplifier or something.
Yeah. Maybe we can turn these front speakers off too if you want.
If we turn those off, you're not going to hear anything from Zoom.
But I can hear it back there from your computer.
No, that's just our phone testing it to make sure we're not echoing.
Okay. They're working on it.
Yeah, you know what it is, right? You know the root cause,
The roof cause, sorry?
the root cause of the problem.
The root cause? I don't know. We can just probably maybe turn off my mic when you're talking. That's the
Yeah.
worst case.
Yeah, I think the easiest way is I'm just going to have to mute them.
If you talk to your computer, which has the Zoom, now I don't hear you. I don't hear you now. I don't hear you now. I don't hear you.
Steven, talk to me.
So I'm unmuted now. They're testing out different scenarios here.
Okay.
Can you hear an echo if you talk?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
Yes, I hear it.
it still hears it.
Okay, let's try one more time.
One more time. And then he talks.
Okay, so I'm going to talk and try it. Now, can you answer? Maybe this works.
No, I don't hear you.
Doesn't hear me.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't. I mean, I can turn the gate down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, talk now.
Okay, so you should be able to hear me. They turned it back on.
I hear you now.
Okay, do you echo?
Let me say hello. I hear hello.
He hears it. Now we tried some echo cancellations.
No, you should really just to talk to your Zoom.
Computer. Yeah, I am, but the challenge is that we have some cameras set up and I have an external mic and there's speakers here.
It's good on our end.
So it's good on our end. Is it good for you now? If you talk? Hashim, can you hear me? Am I off?
I hear you now,
Okay,
and I see you.
good. Tudan, is your echo gone?
Hello?
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 I
I
can
don't
hear
hear my
you.
echo. I don't hear my echo.
Oh, yay, we got no echo. Right in time.
Hello? Let me say it again. Hello?
Hello, I'm talking now. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Let me
Okay,
let me talk. Let me talk. Hello, Steve. Hello, Steve. Hello, Steve. No, I don't hear myself. That's good. Can you talk now, Steve? Can you talk?
yeah, I can talk now. Thank
No,
you.
I can hear you.
You can. You can? Good.
Good. But we also need to share the slides.
Yeah, they'll take care of all that.
Yeah,
They're ready to share the slides. We can get going.
yeah.
We'll
The
need
other
you
thing,
to,
yeah.
we'll need
So
you to give me a spotlight, I think.
yeah. So right now,
Oh, yeah,
uh,
Steven needs to spotlight us.
Yeah, if you spotlight me, then I can share my slides.
so we are waiting for people now, and usually, Steve, we wait for people until 9:05
Okay,
to give them time to join, and then the rest join as while you are presenting. But I already sent your bio and everything and abstract and title, which is When Time Leaves Home, which is very interesting title actually,
thank you.
and abstract. But but when you before you when you start, you can provide brief introduction of yourself. What are you talking about? And then you go in and you go on to the presentation.
Sounds good. Yeah,
And
I'll just show you here quick. So I have my objectives up front.
yes, exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
excellent.
The other thing is please send me the slides after the call because
Yes, absolutely.
I will share the slides and the recording and everything is recorded.
Perfect, thank you.
So right now people start to join and I don't I had many people accepted the invitation. I can tell you how many now. 1 second. On time leaves. Oh, I got 38 people.
38,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Fantastic. But I don't know how many will join.
Yeah, fair enough.
But all of them will receive the recording and the slides, you know?
Yes, fair
All of
enough.
them.
And I'm recording this as on my end too, and so I can
Good.
share that with you if you have any
Excellent.
issues.
That will be fantastic. So we got so far 5 people, which is not enough. We have. So let us see how many we'll get by 9:05. And then
Sounds great.
while you are presenting, more will join.
Okay. And I'm in no rush on my end, so.
Excellent, excellent, Steve. I am anxious myself to hear this presentation
Oh, good.
because because the title is very interesting. When time leaves home, what does that mean? Right?
Yeah, we got to put clocks elsewhere.
Exactly. And also, the notion of time or the concept of time is not that simple.
No, it's not. So there's a lot of technical here because I remember you, not too much,
Ye-
but because I know that you said a lot of people here have a lot of technical awareness. So
Yes,
I brought that
exactly.
into it.
So what is time? Oh, you are. Where are you? You are in a conference room.
Yeah, we rented a room and I got lights and everything. I wanted to do my best for you guys.
Oh, fantastic! You are a great man. Excellent, actually. I hope we get many people.
If not, we also have the recording. People can catch up.
Exactly, exactly. But we got close to 40 people accepted.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we got 8 so far, and hope we can get more because you've done great job to prepare for it.
Well, thank you.
So really excellent work, Steve. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I
Really,
greatly appreciate this opportunity, so I don't want to.
and I greatly appreciate your effort.
Thank you.
So we got David Lou, Dan also joined, Howard. Oh, great. 10 people so far. That's good. As I said, I'm very anxious to hear uh, your presentation.
Excellent.
When time leaves home, I love it.
Well, I hope I didn't set the bar too high. I got expectations to reach now.
When time leaves home and never come back.
Yeah. Well, it's everywhere. We can't leave it alone.
Yeah. Oh wow. That is definitely something new. I never heard this that time leaves home. Oh, we got 12 people so far. Give them more time, right?
Okay.
Until we have enough, then we can start. How long do you think you need for this presentation, Steve?
I timed it about 35 minutes and then
That's
that,
good.
okay.
That's good. So 35 minutes, maybe we can start whenever we have enough people. Who's talking?
Somebody muted their mic.
Yeah. So Nanda, anybody please mute your mic and you only unmute yourself when you want to talk or ask a question or provide comments. Steve, do you would like people to ask you questions or provide comments while you are presenting, or you would prefer to have all of them at the end of the presentation?
I'm, I guess I'm fine either way. I don't mind if there's a burning question or somebody has something, feel free to jump in. That might work for sure. I'm open to that.
Good. Excellent. So you are free. You are
I'm free.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Good.
I'm at,
So,
I'm at your disposal.
good. But Steve, please speak loudly.
Okay, we'll turn the mic up a bit.
Turn the mic a bit. You're right. No, turn it 2 bits.
2 bits? Okay, I'm too soft, so 2 bits, two more.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay, so
That's good. So we got 16 people. I'm supposed to get close to 40. Oh, wow. So let us wait for about maybe 5 minutes
okay,
more.
no problem.
Why not? And the good thing, I don't hear echo of my voice.
Yeah, that's very good. That's why we started early to make sure that it
Yeah,
was all taken
exactly,
care of.
exactly. And you look handsome today, Stephen. I love
Oh,
it.
thank you. I got a new vest just for the
Yeah,
occasion. So,
yeah, very good. You know, today I heard the news that in England there was some demonstrations against AI.
oh, really? I didn't hear that
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, yeah. They said AI is causing troubles. Big companies like Meta, Microsoft, Google, they should back off.
Yeah, I think it gives different opportunities and different challenges at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. And the big guys like Jeffrey Hinton and Lacoon and all of those, they are saying they are making people aware of the drawbacks of AI.
That's probably a good thing. It reminds me back in the day when Orson Welles did the War of the Worlds telecast over the radio.
Yeah,
Because he made a point. He said, never always believe what you hear on the radio. And I think that message resonates now with AI and everything.
exactly. Now I look at Facebook, too many videos made by AI. So you don't know what is real from fake.
Agreed. Yeah.
And it confuses everybody.
Yeah. We'll find our
Anybody,
balance.
yeah, anybody can make a video and throw it into Facebook or whatever and confuses everyone.
Yeah.
So people are confused about reality. So wait for 2 more minutes, see how many we'll get.
Okay. I'll follow your lead.
Yeah, exactly. And then you go for 35 minutes or so, which will be enough. 35 minutes, and you accept Q&A anytime. So maybe you can start at 9:10.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? 17 now. Good. Oh, go up and down. 9:10, then 9:45. That's 15 minutes for questions. That will be enough. So Steve, for give us some background, some of the background about your career,
Sure.
your work, your interest, your company.
Sure, that sounds good. I do have a little bit to get started in a bit, but I'll just in broad before we get started. So
Yes.
I have a PhD in medical sciences, specifically medical genetics.
Can you please
And when,
speak
use the
up?
mic?
Mike, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Or maybe the mic's in the way here. So I have my PhD in medical sciences. I then trained as a fellowship at university or at Harvard Medical School. I spent time at Brigham Women's Hospital. And when I was there, I started a software company on my evenings and weekends. And that led me into the software industry for a couple of years after my fellowship, and then went on to a pharmaceutical career for 15 years, led up to the medical director of the country for a global pharmaceutical company. But that was right around COVID time, just before COVID, and so I started consulting right before COVID and ended up actually discovering what I'm going to be talking about today that led me down a rabbit hole and in science and physics and mathematics and ancient technologies that has led to all this. So it's been a whirlwind the last 5 or 6 years in an entirely new direction. Somebody said to me, well, do I call you a physicist? You're not really trained as a physicist. And I said, well, I have the philosophy where a PhD trains you to learn, trains you to be able to differentiate between how to do science and how not to do science. So with the right discipline, you can apply that to different fields of study.
Very good. And when time leaves the home, and this means time will go to satellites, for example.
Oh, I'll get all into that, but it's you
Okay.
don't need satellites, and
Ah,
that's the interesting thing. A lot of the modern technology or the modern solutions for moon timekeeping are really looking to put relay satellites to the range points and between Earth and the moon. This is proposing that's not needed.
ah.
You
How
may need
about
it for communications, but not for time.
but how about going to Mars?
Same thing for Mars. As long as you can accurately predict what I'm going to be introducing as signals, then you're as accurate as your technology.
Got it. Got it. So I think you can start now.
All right. Thank you very much. So
Thank
for
you
those,
very, very much.
so for those of you who may have not heard it or just joined, my name is Dr. Stephen Moore. I have a PhD in medical sciences, but I've focused exclusively on math and physics for the last 5 or 6 years. So that has been a stint as an independent researcher. And in that research, I discovered different applications for the technology I'm using or discovering or describing, and that led to me founding the company called Varda Space. And I'll get into a little bit about that, but what principle is, Varda Space is focusing on telling time and space. So I want to thank for the opportunity to be here. I'm very grateful for this. And I know that the community here brings together people with shared interest in exploring timekeeping and synchronization in a rapidly evolving landscape. So it's my pleasure to present and answer any questions throughout the time. So I have 4 key objectives, and this is really to create an awareness and opportunity for later discussion. But the first one is, what is relationalism? This isn't taught in universities or textbooks. It's very rare. There's only a few people who study on this because it's more a philosophical discussion. And so what I'm doing is I'm adding mathematics into this otherwise theoretical discussion. So this is a distinct framework for modeling and synchronizing time. The next is, what's the difference between what I'm introducing as a duration and a measurement of the duration. Those are two different things, and this is kind of how we're going to be introducing relativity. Also, I'm going to introduce how timestamps can be synchronized independent of space, yet still consistent within the relativistic construct. I'll finish with a proposal for a Moon 18 time unit system, and this also includes not only a clock, but also a calendar system that aligns the orbit of the Moon with the rotation of Earth. So by the end, hopefully, you'll have an awareness of these concepts and perhaps an interest to connect and learn more. All right, so this group understands well that time coordination is both successful, but there are increasing challenges. So as humanity becomes more interconnected, the stresses of how we manage and synchronize time become more visible. This was especially true for next generation industries, such as space travel or quantum computing. We have become very good at coordinating time across the surface of Earth, largely through satellite infrastructure and the constellation structures. However, these systems are growing more vulnerable, but not only that, we currently synchronize using atomic clocks, and if one of those fail within the network, it can offer cascading effects, and we saw this last year, an example of this. So as we shift to our focus and focus to space, the challenge even becomes greater. What I'm doing is many current proposals I'm looking at for local lunar time require complex networks of relay satellites. And we were talking about that briefly before the call about Lagrange points, et cetera. And these systems demand not only significant time to establish this, but also the resources and with expenses, but also the maintenance and then the eventual debris management of these devices. So for my preliminary review of international lunar time proposals, I do see that there are still key challenges continue with remaining around scalability, traceability, accuracy, and resiliency. And we mentioned not only out to the Moon, but out to Mars and beyond as well. So to begin this talk, I'm going to use a popular quote from Einstein because I think it fits very well. We cannot resolve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So put on a different open mind, think a little bit differently, because I'm going to be introducing concepts that you likely haven't heard before. So like many of you, I was drawn to one of the most studied and least settled questions: what is time? So my path didn't begin in physics, like I said. It began in 2019 when I saw a program on ancient mathematics. And that moment sent me to a deep study of geometry, modeling systems, ancient calendar traditions, and mathematics. So while the world was responding to COVID, it created a very rare opportunity for me to hunker down and hibernate and learn as much as I could. It was a very, very strange time for me. I was working anywhere from 16 hours and plus a day. I just couldn't get enough of this. So as we begin to untangle the legacy of colonial influences on calendar systems and searching for our identity, not only for who we are, but the knowledge systems and technologies that we once used. So I began developing a geometric framework that models matter, or objects if you will, space, time, and motion. It builds on established mathematics, but it starts using discrete relations and static states, rather than using continuous change, which we use in physics today. So the road to publishing in this area wasn't easy. It took a couple of years, about 3 years before I had my first publication, many rejections along the way. And since then, I now have 6 peer-reviewed publications and various different conference posters. So I was helped along the way when an editor asked me a simple question. So I had this new way to model matter, space, and time, and she asked me, so what? So that question led me to explore an approach and how could this address modern challenges in how we model time. So I was looking at quantum scales as well as space exploration with theory of relativity. So the first application I developed was around lunar time. So I built and launched a full application for Moon 18. This was back in 2021 or 22, somewhere around there. And it was fun. Friends looked at it, and this is kind of cool. But then they asked, well, why do we mean moon time? And I would simply say, one day we're going to need it. I actually launched a press release introducing the full launch. 3 weeks later, the White House released their memorandum and asked that NASA and other international communities find a solution for multi-celestial timekeeping. So that initiative from a global standpoint really was the impetus or what got Varda Space started. So what I'm here today is to share that framework and offer you how it differs from the way we currently see things in regards to reality and relativity. So there's a lot of work ahead. This is just beginning, but the effort is driven by curiosity and a belief that expanding our mathematical tools can expand what we're able to understand. All right, so let's introduce a little bit by clearly defining, I'm using apples and oranges, so we don't confuse them. So I'm calling an apple as a relativistic framework. Its mathematics is extraordinarily successful, so much so that there's debate continues on whether it's simply a predictive mathematical tool or a literal description of nature. It introduces well-established features. These include relativity, breaking global simultaneity, where time requires space, and also symmetry of time is broken. So I'm not disputing any of these in the talk or in the proposal I'm talking about. So relativity produces reliable results. What I'm introducing instead is the orange. It's a different mathematical starting point and a different geometric foundation. Importantly, though, we have to remember that apples and oranges can coexist in the same basket. So it's always nice to have a fruit basket with lots of options. So I'm just adding an option. So my goal really is to expand the mathematical tools to model space and time. All right, so I talked about an apple. So what's an orange? So relational framework I'm developing upon emerges with questions in quantum science. It fits very well in this setting. So it opens the door not only to look at for quantum geometry, but also macro object geometry built from Euclidean principles. So Euclidean geometry is straight, it's not bent. But it also has immediate applications with telling time and synchronizing 0 points and managing time and space, which is the talk today. This approach builds on ideas and philosophies from mathematics that predate Greek traditions. This includes preserved works from Mohist canon in China. These works describe concepts, these relational works from Mohist canon provide concepts central to relationalism. This includes zero time, which we've now since abandoned in physics, static states, and natural number counting as the foundation for describing what I'm referring to as magnitudes. So in Europe, however, Gottfried Leibniz studied Chinese mathematics. He worked closely with the Vatican missionaries, and they had a lot of correspondence back and forth. He's often credited with introducing relationalism to physics, but it's largely a philosophical framework because he couldn't figure out how to fully model motion in his introduction into physics. At the same time, European mathematics were focused on how do we get away from discrete mathematics and move to continuums, where change is constant. And that focus led to calculus, developed both independently from Leibniz as well as Newton, and these are tools that continues to shape modern physics. So since relationalism mathematics is discrete, what I argue that is Leibniz was trying to wrap an orange around the cloak of an apple. So what I'm exploring is the different from the Eurocentric approaches. It begins not with a continuum, but with the discrete relations, primitive geometry, which I'll explain, and natural number counting. So this, in a nutshell, is an orange. So how do we compare apples and oranges? So physics has guardrails. One is that time cannot equal zero. If time disappears, the equations of Newton and Schrödinger, etc., they'll stop working. Another guardrail is that change is continuous. So consider, if you will, physics tells us how states change. It creates predictions. Relationalism asks a different question. What a state is, one discrete subsystem at a time, an approach for building predictions in an area that is completely open for study. So relationalism respects the guardrails of physics, but steps outside the sandbox where physics no longer operates. I ask instead, what remains when time is removed? There are no frames of reference, there's no momentum, there's only position, and there's no space-time. This means modeling space and time are independent, something relativity was never designed to do. So yes, apples and oranges are different. So there are three key characteristics for relational time. First is zero time. So a zero time point has no duration. It is not a singularity or infinitesimal. However, you can use that to find it. In a Euclidean point, it has no parts. It's what Aristotle called as the present now, which is outside of time. These points can be anchored using observable signals. That's where you can predict where you're going to get it with the singularity. These signal markers create an index in the frame of reference, and I call these temporal nodes, which I'll explain more further. The second is a duration. So a duration exists between two of these temporal nodes within a frame of reference. It only occurs once per frame. It can be measured, but in itself, it's only a geometric element, not something made of smaller timepieces, like no clocks or rods in it. This means time is measured at a point by a clock. It's like a proper clock, but it does not require space to exist. Now I'll get into that because it's a whole new concept of time, so it'll take some time to unwrap all the complexity of that. The third is omnipresence. So the philosophy that I use is that when time equals zeros, it's frozen everywhere. Only now exists at every frame at that instant. And I'll explain how this can tie into relativity later on. So these three pillars are the relational foundation of time. So in a recent publication, and I just got back about 2 weeks ago presenting this at a conference, is that I began to explore quantum mechanics as a way to characterize a zero time point and explore how it can be anchored within a system. And a system is observable as we all understand it to be. So to accomplish this, we need a signal operator with at least 4 criteria that I begin to show here. So the first criteria is that the operator can only give a fundamental temporal position. This is indeterminate, and it cannot be measured. It's a point of no parts. Second, the boundary for a point are determinate, so you can measure what goes beside it. And these measurements are referred to as extrinsic, meaning observers can measure it. Next, boundaries are frame independent, so you can have a boundary on this frame and another boundary on another frame. And so they can exist independent of each other. Lastly, one signal event can only define one temporal node. This aligns with Lipnick's principle of indiscernibles and is consistent with the omnipresent universe concept. So I chose the current description of quantum entanglement describing Einstein's scenario, what he conventionally considered as 2 entangled particles, one showing up and one showing down in a spin state. I use this as an example of what a signal operator may look like. As a mathematical approach, it suggests the particle, if you will, can also be conceptually explored as a zero-dimensional spatial and temporal point, the location only for that event, framed within the system by 2 measurable or determinate bound metrics from within each of the frames of reference. So this concept describes how 2 extrinsic boundaries can exist in 2 frames of reference and can sandwich a single but shared temporal node. Today, this assumes that although there is a mathematical interval of time that exists between these 2 entangled states, because time can't equal 0 and it's infinitesimally indivisible or singularity, so that's current mathematics. In relationalism, however, there is no quantifiable dimensional quantity of time at this point, and this makes this a temporal point. All right, so durations are modeled, so we have the 2 points, and now we have a duration which is between the points. It's modeled as a primitive magnitude of what I call intrinsic time. These magnitudes have length, they're flanked by temporal nodes, but they do not include nodes themselves, so there's no points in between. They are both space and frame independent. I can represent magnitudes as Euclidean line elements that are whole and uniform. What this means is I can take a line element like a string once I have that duration, and I can open it, I can close it, or I can put it into very nice geometric forms. Although space-time lacks symmetry, I can build symmetry using these partitioning operations that I developed from study of ancient timekeeping. This means I can introduce vertexes and temporal magnitudes displayed as n-gons or polygon structures. I can add both linear and circular degree units, like 360 degrees we now see as circular degrees. But there was also 360 linear degrees, as mentioned in ancient Chinese mathematics, as well as ancient Greece. But linear degrees, as we all know, have long since abandoned. So I can combine and reintroduce those. Consistent with Lipschitz, one duration is simply a whole line item segment with a uniform dimensional quantity or magnitude. One is one of a coexisting network of various different durations. So how does this begin to harmonize with relativity? That's the key thing that needs to be done here. Takes away from the abstract, moves it into modern physics. So in the 1940s, Swan corresponded with Einstein and proposed what he called a rest length or magnitude can exist. In relationalism, we apply this to both the length and temporal magnitude. So although I'm talking more about time here, I can do the same thing for length. I call Schwann's statement an orange disguising itself as an apple, since Schwann's used the word rest in his description. What rest to me means is that it implies a system is in continuous change and with multiple frames of reference. In a relational static state, there's only one Euclidean universal frame that's needed. Both time and space is added into that frame. Einstein considered primitive or rest magnitudes as being pointless because you can't measure them. And he, of course, was correct in that setting, in that description. He, of course, famously proposed we need clocks and rods as measurement units. So my approach is not to measure primary magnitudes, but to establish a geometric modeling system that can represent and compare them. Quantification of the magnitude comes through dynamical theories, such as those used in physics. Now, what led us to what Einstein described as pure versus applied geometry? So at the time, Einstein realized that abstract Euclidean points and lines lose their meaning when referred to objects in the world. There's a great page where he just goes into a great context where Euclidean geometry can't be used. And I agree with him, it can't be used in relativity. Objects in the real world exist within a continuum of time. And this is consistent with what Zeno and Aristotle pointed out in ancient Greek philosophy, that static relations cannot exist as a component of a continuum. But before Einstein, Newton proposed invisible properties of space and time. Yet these properties were interpreted to exist within an abstract three-dimensional space. It's not the approach I'm using. Newton's invisible concept aligns with Euclid's axioms of a point of no parts and a line with no breadth. They're there, but you can't see them. Appreciating Einstein's comments on Euclidean axioms, consider instead that relationalism builds upon the template of Euclidean geometry by adding object-oriented properties to locations for points and extensions between these points. Individual points themselves are bound by what we observe in the physical objects or events, and this can include quantum phenomena, which I described earlier. So I argue that the approach for creating an intrinsic Euclidean framework that still allows objects and time in the real world to maintain their meaning and dimensional quantities within a continuum. So what is a primitive magnitude? Well, primitive magnitudes are simply Euclidean line segments that can be compared. So each length, if you will, can represent a real distance or a real duration with dimensional quantities. So if you know the magnitude of one segment, you can easily see if it's the same magnitude or different as another segment. So there's no degree of complexity for computing calculations, since our brains are hardwired to immediately recognize segment AB is smaller than CD. The key to this is that primitive magnitudes are fundamental and only geometric in nature. They're not measured. There are no rods or clocks yet put into this framework. Computational complexity comes from measuring the magnitude. So measuring space and time takes rods and clocks, and those measurements belong to a singular frame of reference. The intrinsic magnitude itself doesn't change, only changes how it appears. What shifts is not the intrinsic reality or the intrinsic geometry, but the extrinsic frame-dependent measure. And that extrinsic measure produces the dilation or contraction within theory of relativity. So Euclid worked with abstract numbers and magnitudes. Relationalism doesn't. Each magnitude is defined and proportional to a dimensional quantity it contains. Using Euclid's definitions, two magnitudes are incommensurable if there's no common unit that can measure both exactly. Shown here, AB is incommensurable with CD. Partitioning two incommensurable magnitudes into parts of wholes also creates incommensurable parts of the whole. Partitioning operations I use throughout are simply what we already know civilizations have been using since written records were able to record them. So an example showing here is a duration magnitude divided into 12 with subdivisions of 30, giving 360 relational units that have both symmetry and a numerical order. The counting convention of the units utilizes what Egyptians described as unit fractions. So considering primitive or intrinsic magnitudes aren't measured, well, how do we get the dimensional quantities to something that doesn't exist? This is where modern physics and the complexity in computing comes into play. We can only measure something from within the system. When it's changing, we don't measure the primitive elements directly, only what we observe. Following a causal signal system approach, we can use a past and a present temporal points or signals that define these positions. And consistent with computer theory that uses object-oriented discrete event simulations, for those that are familiar with that, change only occurs, the change that occurs between these signals or time points is irrelevant spatially. So for only these operators, time is the only thing that evolves between the points. Observable signals in quantum states may include spin up or spin down, or conversely, at a larger scale, we can also use astronomical conjunction events. But regardless of the scale, quantum or stars, an operator defines the intrinsic points, which is a position only. And so at the top, what we see here is if we start with an initial state, and then we finish at a final state, in between of this is a construct of uniform time taking from each origin of the light cone. So looking at an orange in a relational framework on the left, the operators create an unobservable static states with spatial magnitudes, which also include angles, for object relations at every single temporal point. But the duration occurs in between these points, and this is where I can create both space and time measurements into the model. So geometric elements can be scaled or broken into parts, partitioning, using simple yet kind of reconstructed to create representative object-oriented models, such as circles or spirals. If we combine temporal durations, like I was saying, you can create very complex yet very simple geometric models of objects and relational frameworks showing distance, time, and even motions of star systems. When we look at an apple, we can measure durations between the initial and final state of the origin of the light cone, but this also measures distance between objects, and this provides the estimated parameters for the absolute intrinsic geometric magnitudes that are relational. So comparing modern physics, or apples, with static or standard relational oranges, you can enjoy both lunch, and it doesn't need to exclude each other. Combining both of these makes for a wonderful combination. Consider, if you will, that physics provides the extrinsic measurements from within the system that we exist. This uses time derivatives of displacement, like velocity or acceleration. In relationalism, I'm building a geometric model from that information. So I provide an underlying geometric structure of that system. However, in this case, I use time integrals of displacement, like absment and absently, which can then model motion geometrically. So now we start to transition into the next part. So you've heard a little bit about the theory and the geometric approach. This is a great time to pause if anybody has a question here, and before I get into really how we can apply this for telling time and space. Okay, I'll take silence as no questions yet. That's fair. We'll have another opportunity. So what I'm going to be talking about now, like I said, is how we're going to apply this to telling time and space. So Varda Space was founded, and it has a key focus on taking this theory to build applications. We have two areas of focus right now. The first area is to build experimental evidence that zero time points exist independent of space and in an omnipresent universe. Internal testing has shown initial success. We have an algorithm, and it's been launched into an open source solution so others can actually download it and expand upon it. We actually have a key university in the United States looking at this. The secondary is dedicated to devise a measurement for a duration between signal operators. This can be done today using atomic clocks, but accuracy and precision, of course, is paramount for additional precision needed. All right, so this is where the fun part starts. So let's begin talking about moon timekeeping proposal. Now, as we know, the duration of Earth's rotation is not the same from one duration of next. This is well documented and studied and tracked. This, of course, also applies to a lunation cycle. So one full orbit of the moon, using a new moon conjunction event as a signal operator for historical reasons, is also different. One lunation to another is different. Based on this criteria of a signal operator, as we discussed, the signal only requires to occur once in each frame. You only see a new moon once on Earth, and you're only seeing a new moon once on the moon. This allows us to define a duration and symmetry for the magnitude of that duration within each frame of reference, be it on the Earth, or in a spacecraft, or in the moon surface. So what we did was, using the Mesoamerican Tune calendar as a reference, I adopted the 18 by 20 by 20 divisional structure of a lunation duration, which is shown here on the right. So this makes a total of 7,200 ratio units, and I refer to them as METs. This provides symmetry of time, and a symmetry within each frame of reference that can be mapped to a standard unit of time, such as Earth seconds. This highlights the distinction between standardized units and relational units. The later is a division of a duration, and it creates the symmetry and order of time. So combining relationalism across the frames with standard units in each frame yields a very powerful framework for modeling time. Dividing durations into smaller intervals is not new. Sumerians and Hindu timekeepings divided durations by 12 by 30, or even 12 by 30 by 30, long before standard units were even established. So this is just reintroducing what has already been done. When Julian Gregorian calendars were introduced, the ancient 12 by 30 divisional structures were unfortunately dismissed as inaccurate and vague and approximations of a 360-day calendar year, which, based on my studies, I see another explanation for this, in which I'm showing the uses of it here. So in the context of geometric time modeling, the approach is exceptionally powerful and is opening new directions for computational and geometric analysis that we are only now beginning to explore. So I want to introduce a new structure of time here, and this will make you think a bit different. So I'm going to try to go a little slow, building into what we're already familiar with. So simultaneity in relativistic space-time doesn't exist. So the question is, how can we synchronize temporal nodes across frames of reference? Timekeeping is often mistaken for synchronization. Relativistic or observation-based time measurements are not absolute, we know that. But 0 time points of time are introduced as being absolute. So relativistic time uses light as a messenger. That light has a speed limit. That means the news is always coming in late to a frame. What it does mean is so what does this mean? Today's humans live on Earth in a frame 65 million light years from here. Off-world civilizations are using the light from their telescopes, and they'll be seeing Earth with dinosaurs roaming on the planet. So relativity says each observer in their own physical perspective of the system. That's what relativity gives us, our perspective of the system. However, in my approach to relationalism, absolute temporal points coexist across an omnipresent universe, meaning there is only a present now. So every observer within the physical universe witnesses the physical signal events or signal operators. The observers remember these changes in their linear sequence within their frame of reference. It's indexed as a temporal node in their linear history. So let us use our imagination and what now means across the universe. In a relationalistic model, if there are two individuals, so let's use our imagination like I said, if there are two individuals telepathically connected right now, existing in either frame A or frame B, this would occur at a shared temporal point. However, in the mathematics of relativistic 4D modeling, these individuals could exist in the past, present, or the future. Now that we have temporal nodes in each frame, we've anchored them based on their understanding of their observations of physical reality, How do we measure a duration? A cyclic signal operator provides both a start and a stop point for a duration. By convention, temporal node indexing is a coordinate-based data structure. This means that it's defined by space-time coordinates within each frame of reference at the light cone. The coordinates are used in space-time and can just anchor the zero time point in a particular point of view. They don't change that temporal point at all. This means that the duration can be measured by Lorentz invariant quantity in a relativistic framework. Measuring the duration occurs within the frame at that origin of the light cone using a proper clock. The proper clock gives a dimensional quantity of time for that geometric element that's relevant to that observer in that frame of reference. The accuracy of the clock depends on the technology. And also the accuracy of finding that zero-dimensional point also depends on the technology. Therefore, time is a measurement of ordered change within a frame that occurs between temporal nodes. It's like a linear memory system. Clocks do not need to tick at the same rate for a duration of time to exist or to be measured. So by combining relationalism with relativity, Vardis is building tools and clocks to be synchronized to signal operators that can be shared between two frames of reference. This ensures that the symmetry and order of duration is preserved across any frame of reference, while its magnitude is measured by a local standard unit of time. For instance, if time moves faster on Earth than it does on the Moon, so the Moon 18 clock on Earth will tick faster than a Moon 18 clock on the Moon. When a cyclic signal operator, this can be either a periodic signal or an aperiodic signal like a new moon conjunction, is shared in both frames, both clocks would complete their respective cycles of the 1800th unit, so-called Metz units. They would start at the same point and end at the same point. In between, they're going to run different. Using natural aperiodic signals, such as a new moon conjunction, obviously intercalary event management would be needed in both frames, be it on Earth or the Moon, an approach we use well today and have great infrastructure set up for aligning to the UTC. So what does this mean for synchronizing time on the Moon? It means communication delays, which we experience right now, and we're using radio signals, and that's the proposal, to use a radio signal to carry that zero time point to another place. So we're trying to keep time at home. I don't want to keep time at home. That's only a communication delay. When time leaves Earth or leaves home, then what we're doing is we're creating an independent and local timekeeping system. For example, suppose a spacecraft lands on the lunar surface at 1800 Metz, marking the stop and end point of the Moon's 18-unit cycle. At this index point, it is given a new moon conjunction event. So what's happening, both on the Earth and on the Moon and on clocks on each hands, they all read 1800 hours when that craft touches down. At this instant, the Moon is in conjunction with the Earth and the Sun in both frames of reference from that observer in that frame. All right, so that's the Moon 18 time. Now shifting, I want to expand this a little bit further, because timekeeping that is scalable, traceable, accurate, and resilient goes beyond clocks. It also requires a calendar system. And having an a universal calendar system that can add and subtract and use this planet, this conjunction event, that signal, we need to define a universal calendar system. So I look back in history, and before Julian's calendar, not long ago, before Julian calendar of 45 BC was introduced to the Roman Empire, people used cyclic astronomical signal operators to reset both time and calendars. The Julian system, however, disrupted alignment with the natural cycles and began shifting timekeeping in calendar systems to be dependent on a centralized singular authority. As Rome Empire diminished and the Vatican's influence grew, European powers began to expand and harmonize their colonies. So around that time, Pope Gregory XIII introduced the Gregorian calendar in 1582, and this harmonized both political and ecclesiastical needs. Mathematically, though, the Julian-style calendars have limitations. They're Earth-centric. They rely on averages and reset cycles abstractly, making a universal multi-celestial timekeeping applications impossible. By contrast, ancient calendar systems that use cyclic signal operators, sorry, tongue-tied, we've seen this many times across all pre-Hellenistic and pre-colonial civilizations. Hindu systems tracked multiple celestial orbits and durations having relational unit symmetry of 12 by 30 divisional structures. The Egyptians had a 360-day calendar aligned with an annual rising of Sirius, harmonizing the orbit and the day cycles using an annual intercalary event instead of the Gregorian application of an intercalary event every 4 years. Many indigenous civilizations also used local stars and annual signal operators to reset their calendar years. This is true not only in the Americas, but also in Australia as well. In developing the moon-based calendar, I drew on the mathematical structure of the Mesoamerican system. But I want to say that this is based on primary or divine duration. I'm using the moon's orbit rather than the Earth's orbit around the sun. This differs in the pre-interpretations, this differs from the reinterpretation by the Vatican friars. So publications, I want to note that publications in the late 1800s and 1900s, these were hard to find, highlighted the bias inherent in the interpretations taken by the Gregorian system. During the Spanish conquest of Mesoamerica in the 1500s, Vatican-backed friars destroyed local libraries of knowledge and replaced them with authored chronicles requiring a hierarchical approval process. This is obvious today as a historical bias. So, a universal calendar system has both a primary duration along with one or more secondary durations that can be paired to it. And the secondary durations are what are needed for the intercalary events. The primary duration can be partitioned to create time units and sequentially counted to form long count systems, which I'll show. Building on the Moon 18 time unit, I introduced the Luniteranian calendar, which counts the primary cycle of a lunation while pairing the Earth's axial rotation or solar day with that. The name reflects its basis. So luni means in relation to the moon and Turanian meaning in relation to Earth. So let's walk through this system. So I designed this device using the Aztec calendar stone for inspiration. Now, this stone was buried by the Spanish beneath the main square of Mexico City to suppress Aztec religious practices. It was rediscovered in 1790 during a renovation. And interestingly, I did a little math here. Interestingly, the stone calendar weighs 24,590 kilograms, which is also a precise ratio of 1 to 3 times 10 to the 18th mass of the moon. If we start on the leftmost concentric figure shown here, this is the entire clock system. Now, for ease of comparison, consider the inner 20 gone, the tiny one little in the middle. That is going to be like seconds. It's going to be spinning very fast. Whereas the outer 20 gong is like centuries. Left of the double bars shown here, you see the Moon 18 calendar, and on the right is the Moon 18 clock. The clock divides each lunation duration into 18 by 20 by 20 relational units. The Moon 18 calendar is counting the system from the number of completed lunations. So this Tricina, the first left of the double lines there, is a 13 gone polygon, and it's shown in white. It has 1 tick every lunation. So after 13 lunations is a complete cycle, and we get 1 lunar year. So in 13 lunations, there are 384 Earth solar days in a regular year. 1 lunar terrarian year is 1 tick in the bicentennial 20 gone shown in red. Now, there are recurring leap years of 385 days, or 1 every 10 lunar years, or 130 lunations. So after every 20 lunar years, the final outer gray polygon gets 1 click. A complete rotation of the 20 gong clicks closes a single uniform duration of 400 lunar years, or 5,200 lunations. This also marks a skip year of 383 days and a complete cycle of the clock. This harmonizes the Earth's day with the new moon conjunction event with great precision. This completed clock cycle takes about 420.4 Gregorian calendar years. So ask yourself, how accurate is this? So I used published averages for the lunation cycle, as well as the 86,400 seconds for an Earth day. And the skip year event after the entire cycle of this calendar system has an error of about 0.000038%. And of course, there will be changes as these orbits and rotations slow. Colonial interpretations do not combine these various cycles, such as Trichina, Sacred Cycle, Tune, and the Hab that I show here in the same way. Rather, they're disjointed and a mixed match of debated hypotheses, not knowing why there's two calendar systems and counting toes and fingers, etc. I also look at various different legends and descriptions of events in the meson calendar structure that fit extraordinarily well with using a moon's duration rather than the Earth's duration for this calendar system. So after much effort, I still encounter several challenges finding journal editors and academic collaborators willing to explore an alternative hypothesis around this, because it's going against the current 500-year-old colonial reinterpretation of the Mesoamerican calendar. I got good stories there if people want to talk. As time begins to leave home, a successful multi-celestial time system would include the following. So we want local clocks. These are coordinating local space and integrated into a universal calendar system. Clocks would be distributed across the celestial object, and each giving a unique frame of reference. Next is an anchored zero-time stamp. This, of course, requires shifting philosophies of time from zero-time points, zero-time anchor nodes, and also include new mathematics and provide experimental data to support it. New mathematics isn't really new, it's just using set theory and discrete mathematics. I would also require various computational systems to be developed, and this can be expanded quite a bit. Universality, it needs to have the clocks and calendar methodologies that would need to remain consistent across each world. You need that consistency so that you can synchronize temporal nodes in each frame of reference across the wherever you can go. It needs to have resiliency. Each needs to operate on its own. The concept I'm reintroducing has the inherent capability to be entirely resilient, following the same methodologies we have seen around the planet in the pre-Hellenistic civilizations. Now, I've certainly chosen a path less traveled. However, I see tremendous potential not only in reintroducing concepts of space and time, but to regain appreciation for technologies of pre-Hellenistic and pre-colonial civilizations. I see three areas of focus as a good start for those interested in joining the path. First is bring zero time into a modern context. Like I said, this requires a lot of math and new physics. Second is to formalize a universal time as a construct. I have found two similar constructs for time that relate to a duration. This opens the door for formal comparison between them. And these two include what Einstein referred to as global or real time. This was discussed in his early papers in 1905. However, framing general relativity using mathematics from dynamical theories eventually replaced his standard approach, or the real time, if you will, for standard approach, and introduced non-Euclidean geometry. The second is quantum intrinsic time. This is first proposed by Page and Wooders in 1983. Finally, there may be much we can learn if we unify and restudy ancient technologies from across our planet. This suggests a challenge to restudy indigenous timekeeping systems that is independent of the divisive colonial interpretations. There's also a plethora of fun projects I'd be thrilled to work on with people, from the three-body problem to even string theory, replacing the relativistic framework of string theory with a relational one. Although it often feels like there are organized attempts to divide us, time remains the quiet rhythm we all share. By learning its harmony together, we may yet unite, heal, and find our way to the stars. And with that, thank you very much, and I'll take any questions.
Very good. So maybe Philippe, do you have a question, Philippe? Because this is an area where I'm sure you are very much interested in. But you are muted.
Yes, I have many questions. Thank
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Great
I know
talking.
you like this stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I have one, the one thing that I couldn't really get through my head, and I did miss the beginning, so I apologize if you already covered it. But the so the selection of something as the cyclical reference that is inherently dynamic and changing, like the lunar orbit, does like that implies that the precision of the universal timescale is limited to the precision that we can measure that cycle. And if you can't measure the exact new moon, if you're on Jupiter, for example, since the new moon is relative to Earth's surface, the
Yeah.
part that's not clicking for me. Yeah.
Right. So the precision is going to be as precise as we can do it. And you might look at it as kind of a, rather than jumping, you can hop. So if we can synchronize closer time points and then further and further away, that it'll take a network of these synchronizations to make it work, I believe. So there's a lot of technological hurdles that we need to figure out. A lot of new advancements and even just the modeling system of such. So I totally agree with you and I see where you're coming from. But there should be a very precise way to measure it. It's just how precise we'll have to evolve that.
It seems like a contradiction to the claim of universality of the calendar, since the universality of it would be in how universally you could observe the cyclic event. So wouldn't it make more sense to pick something that is cyclic and that is equally observable everywhere? Like a
yes,
sort of
yeah.
extrasolar object?
Yeah, but for example, I created one of my papers. I show how I can model from our accuracy using radial velocities is the duration of Tau Ceti F, the planet. And so you can still synchronize exoplanets with this calendar system, but it again goes to the specificity of our instruments. Okay. So if you can get that periodicity of a exoplanet orbit, that periodicity can be linked to an Earth year, for example, as well.
I have one more question, if the if the crowd will allow me. So leap years, gross. Leap seconds, gross. But the question I really wanted to understand a little bit better is why choose a non-metric scale? I understand the historical reasons and the reasons where a fraction is, perfect. A ratio could be a perfect ratio, whereas like dividing things into metric can lose some precision. But considering how modern society operates and how these systems will be implemented, why go for something that's not a base 10 metric scale that could be
well, the Moon 18 could be. So I didn't go into the talk, but I did show on the slide where you can have 18, 20, 20, and then you can have a decimal 10, 10, 10, 10. So you can give that decimal to each unit if you like. That operation, the partitioning operation, is completely flexible as long as everybody agrees upon what to use. They can do, like there's examples of 12 by 30 by 30 by 30 by 30, or you can add a decimal notation.
Thanks. I have one more question.
Sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
So like you said with the hops and kind of it being fully relational in terms of propagating the time, I guess there's this inherent requirement of the observation precision. I kind of mentioned this before with the new moon. I understand that we can measure that to great precision, with great instrumentation, but does that mean every local time source that claims to be the authority for that local zone would also have to be able to observe its reference with great precision? And then thinking along the hops along the way, the precision would degrade if one of those hops was less precise.
Correct. And so we'd have to model that all out. But eventually the hops would happen at the exact same now. And since now is intrinsic to the universe, an omnipresent scenario, that now would be coexisting across all frames. So that would be the ultimate ability of our technologies. And that precision right now is only possible in quantum computing. And that's still being, that's a whole new different game.
Thank you so much. I look forward to following up with this later. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Steve, I think it will be a good idea when you send me the slides, send me your papers or link to the papers to
Sure,
get the
happy to.
details.
Happy to.
Yeah, and I recently I was looking to a presentation by uh, Feynman, Richard Feynman. You know him?
Yep.
The, yeah, he's famous guy. He was talking about time stop for light.
Yep. Right.
That's
At the front, wave front of a light or a photon,
yes,
there is zero time. Exactly.
exactly. Is that part of your presentation? Or
Uh, well, it includes into that technology,
mm,
absolutely. So when a photon hits a photon detector, it can be a single photon. It has a reaction of a metric, and that metric is heat. But that heat is the extrinsic measure of where that photon was. So that right
mm,
now is the closest we got to zero. But so yes, exactly. All photons around everywhere at the edge of that photon is zero. And so
wow,
that's why I'm using relational time can say that zero exists, but in currently in physics and all the infinitesimals and singularities, they say zero can't exist, even though they say zero exists at the wavefront. So there's a contradiction there. I don't have that contradiction.
oh, great. So uh, we are bunch of engineers, some of us, not like Philip. He's a scientist doing his research in this area. But for somebody like myself who's spent life building switches, routers, right, in various networks, what is the impact of all this research you are doing on what we do to build the networks?
Right. So one of the goals of Artist Space is we have this vision if everything works out and we can take a device and miniaturize it. Because right now it's an algorithm being tested for a 0 point time. And we all know our cell phone towers and for communications, for making a phone call, picking up a phone call, I believe there was over 20 different synchronization timestamps that need to align before that can occur. If we get this to work, then there's only two, what sent and what received. So you're vastly reducing the number of signals that you need to send between systems.
Ah,
That's one application.
have you written anything about this application?
No, this is like as hot as you can get. We're moving as
Mm,
fast as we can, and we're developing all these technologies. Like I said, the algorithm is now synchronized two clocks independent of
mm.
space. They're not talking to each other. They're not using their internal clock systems, and they're not using any GPS or towers or anything like that. And we can synchronize them to 19 decimal places of zero
Without GPS, without
without
GNSS
no GPS.
or GNSS, you don't use those.
Don't use those.
How about NTP or 1588?
Yeah, nothing. They're not connected to networks.
Oh wow, man, that is. We need to read more about this, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the open source code that's now available for anybody to use and test. It has all
And
the requirements of the system that you need to build it.
Have
and
you
reducing the signals to two is huge, I think, especially
used?
when it comes to deep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Steve, we need to continue to work with you on this because this is very interesting.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Right now, it's I'm getting where if artists is getting really good exposure in the into the space community. The academic field is still not open to talking about relationalism. They're still
Mhm.
really very much focused on relativity, and so we're building these proof of concepts and eventually hoping getting academic collaborators as well.
So, are you working with people in university like Berkeley or Stanford or MIT?
Yeah, there's that name rings a bell for somebody that's testing it. So,
Ah, okay. So that's very good. So how we can continue to work with you, Steve?
well, we do have a website. I think the next slide here.
Maybe you can put it in your when you send me
Oh,
your presentation. Put all this stuff. Yeah, great.
Yeah, so there you can scan the code. The one is I'm an independent researcher as well, so the Varda space is the time application of this. So I publish mostly as an independent researcher, but you can get a hold of me for both. I'm the chief science officer for Varda Space. I'm not the CEO guy. So there's a CEO, he's fantastic for running the operations. We have a few different people that are helping us out. So you can contact me there and we can try to get everybody talking to the right people.
Oh, so I couldn't get. Please, when you send me your slides, send me these barcodes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because so I want to continue to work with you on this, Steve. And I think Philippe, you are, and we have people in our WhatsApp group, Philippe, who will be interested to work on this. I just had a chat with
Excellent.
Ahmed
Okay, well,
yesterday about his new book. And we spent some time talk about time and how we can have a whole chapter in his book about time.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
a very well published area of discussion. And what I'm finding, and I'm biased though, so I would love to have other people study what I'm doing and get a review paper together, because I think it kind of solves some of the paradoxes, even dating back to Aristotle, where he said now can't exist in a continuum. And I'm saying, well, you can have both.
very good. So the use case of mobility, right, that you mentioned, this use case is very good, right? Reducing all these time stamps from all these stations to two, sender and receiver, right?
Yeah,
I would
that's the
like
ultimate goal.
exactly. I would like to work on a description of this use case and how your technology or ideas can help.
Uh,
Maybe we can describe it in maybe few pages.
That'd be fantastic. Happy to. Kind of the vision of where it needs and what the technology, kind of setting a future path.
Yes, because this is very interesting use case. So that is really great. I think we got Philippe. You are interested. I am interested, and we can find other people who can also be interested to work with Steve on this. Paul, Paul should be interested. Ahmed is interested, and different people. So anyway, I thank you, Steve, very much for this excellent presentation. Very inspiring.
Well,
But
thank you.
again, as practitioners like me, I would like to convert this to something useful for what we do.
Yeah, and I see a lot of other applications beyond time that I have to focus on one thing. So I'm focused on time right now.
Good. Have you read Leslie Lamport papers about time and virtual clocks and ordering of events?
If I've missed a paper, send it to me, or a book. I try to read every one I can. Right now, I'm reading from Oxford, Dr. Balbour, who's talking about zero time, but he's still trying to model zero time points within a three-dimensional abstract Newtonian space, which is just a different way of doing it than I'm doing. So I'm trying to read everything I can. So
No,
send it to me.
you definitely should read Leslie Lamport papers. No
Okay.
question about it. There's a whole
Yeah.
book just published about his paper, which will combine all of his paper. Anyway,
Perfect.
I will send you a link. You
Thank you.
mentioned string theory.
Yes.
Do you believe in it?
The approach that I'm just starting to read about it, but what I find is that string theory is combining both quantum physics and relativity. And from what I'm hearing about the way they're describing it, like if you have these, what are they, zero D banes, if they collide, then they annihilate. And in my setting, what I would use is I'm not using space-time in between. They need space-time between these points, and the space-time adds mass. And so I don't have mass. And the reason why you have what are called tachyons is to balance the equation so that because you're adding mass between space-time, you need the tachyon to balance the equation, or multiple different dimensions. So I would only be using in relationalistic context instead of relativistic, is that I would only have a dimension of 0 and 1, and the in-between has no mass, so I don't need a tachyon. And when these 2 points combine, they don't annihilate, they become the same point. which would be the principle of indiscernibles by Lipsnick. So I have a lot of ideas there I'd love to explore, but it's basically taking string theory and replacing relativity and seeing if it works with relationalism.
I listened to Green, Professor Green, about his string theory many times, and I have to admit I don't understand it quite well. I'm not even sure.
Well, it
Makes
has,
sense.
yeah, sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
It has lots of different add-ons that need to compensate for relativity. And these add-ons are all these 26 or 13 different dimensions, depending on how you analyze it, if I'm getting the numbers right. In my case, I don't need the extra dimensions to create symmetry and to balance the equations because I have zero time. And so I just have, like I said, I just have 0 dimension and 1 dimension, which is the distance between the 2 points. And that distance is the magnitude. So I can, and then, like I said, I can use this magnitude like a string. I can put it as an n-gon, I can put it flat, I can make it into a Pythagorean triangle if I wanted to. I can model that however I want to model.
Okay, good. So, any other question from anybody?
I
Philippe,
have one more. Yeah.
yeah.
So watching the presentation and coming from an engineering background, as shown,
Yes.
um, the the thing that I was thinking about was like applying it as just an approach to interpreting the universe in a way that doesn't presume some other things. What you're suggesting is like that it is the way you're talking about it seems like it's incompatible with relativity, and I was wondering if like the other systems that are built on our knowledge of and model of relativity and like time delay and PTP and all these other inherent systems that are built on top of relativistic time, do they become invalid when trying to use this relational time, or is relational time compatible with using relativistic time
It's
at
compatible.
smaller scales? Okay.
It's compatible. I need both. So so I have intrinsic geometry, but it's meaningless unless I can measure it. So I use relativity to measure it.
Okay.
So it can be relativity, it can be atomic clocks, it can be anything. They're all just measurement systems of that intrinsic structure.
Yeah. Do you follow Steve up on the work of NIST in this area?
NIST, M-I-S-T?
No, NIST.
Oh,
National.
NIST, yes. Yes, they have some publications that came out last year, and they're using the relativistic framework. I touched a little bit about that in the sense they're suggesting creating a relay network of satellites in the LunaNet, and then synchronizing time clocks using radio wave signals. And so I'm suggesting that the synchronization of time can be independent of the radio wave signals, but we still today need the radio wave signals to communicate back and forth to each other. So we'll still get that delays. So I'm separating their proposal, which is using radio waves or using signals from an origin of Earth, and I'm using relational signals instead from each frame of reference. So it's just a different approach to how you could model time on the moon.
Yeah, I will send you a link to some tests NIST did recently to test Einstein principles.
Perfect. I
Yeah,
look forward to the reading.
very interesting. I put it on the Philippe. I put it on the WhatsApp group if you remember.
Okay.
So I will send it to you. Thank you very much, Steve. It's very exciting. We need to spend more time with you because you got me very excited, and I hope more people also got excited, and we can continue working with you. And we really need to follow up on what you are doing. Maybe you can come back with more data as you do your experimentation, prototyping, and all of this.
Oh, happy to. And I saw that you're having trouble with the open source algorithm,
Yeah.
finding it. So I'll just email me. I'll find out where, because it should be on the website, but if it's not, I'll get it for you guys.
Yeah, you can put the link in because I will send you the recording and the slides to everybody, so everybody can look at your source code.
Okay, I'll put it in there. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very, very much, and wish you all the best, and see you in Canada.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
During summer.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
warm. Wait till it warms up.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.